Hello friends, my name is Shivam from DevOps Schools and I will help you to enable your learning process in various technologies of DevOps, artificial intelligence, machine learning, big data and many more. This is our initiative to help you by sharing multiple tutorials and videos. And if you want any specific tutorials on any particular topic, then please do comment in the below comment section and I will help you with it. Also, please subscribe to our premium services on YouTube, which will give you access to more content and videos to enhance your knowledge about all these topics. Also, if you want me to help you with regards to the online trainings and classroom sessions by our qualified trainers, then please do write me at contact@devopsschool.com. Thank you.
So if I enable it, you click on go to Security Hub. Okay, it's gonna ask you it's gonna take the integration. So one place at this, if I enable it, it's gonna cost me what all standards. You can see it over here, what security standards I should be following up. Okay, so if I say we should follow all the security standard of CIS AWS benchmark, AWS Foundation security best practices, sorry, and enable PCI DCS compliance on all the resource services which I use. And if you enable Security Hub, this is how it's gonna give you the information on. So it's gonna run the set of security checks to see what all standards we follow. So it takes time to give you the details on. Okay, so new findings over time by period is 15. All right, and then AWS resource with most finding 2, S3 bucket with public read and write is 0, AMI that have generated the most findings 0, EC2 instance. So you have results on this, like how many passed, how many failed, and then standards, what findings you got, what not. Okay, it takes time to give you the details on, but it will show you the all standards which we have. And if you wanted to go for a standard, you can click on the standard to see the best practices. Okay, what are the checks we have to maintain or the best practices we have to make for CIS standard of AWS. Okay, so you can see for security standards and how many have been enabled, how many have not been enabled. These are the 43 checks. Okay, so 19 security checks has been filled. So ensure hardware MFA is enabled on the root account, which is critical. Then ensure rotation of customer key is enabled. Ensure CloudTrail is enabled. Ensure IAM password policy generates at least one uppercases. Ensure IAM password policy requires at least one lower cases. So these are the set of checks. Okay, best practices, which I think yesterday Manikanta was asking, or someone is asking about this, that what we should see. And then you see this has been failed. Okay, password policy requires expires password within 90 days or so. I'm using this password for more than 90 days, that's why it's failed. Ensure AMP password prevent password reuse. I'm reusing the password, that's why it's failed. Enable CloudTrail or integrated with CloudTrail, because I'm not enabled CloudTrail to go into CloudWatch logs, that's why it's failed. Okay, so these are the standard which has been completely followed by your CIS AWS, right? And then you have different standard. Okay, we are failing into this. And on foundation, AWS foundation security best practices, we are failing into that as well. So if you click on that, 20% fail. What all we failed on? Okay, so kind of scanner on your complete account on the resources. What all we failed on? We failed on password policies. We failed on guard duty should be enabled. Guard duty is not enabled for us, right? We did not enable it. We enabled it and then we turned it off, right? So this is a set of best practices or a standard which should be followed in order to make sure that the account has a proper security implemented. And these checks you can run directly from Security Hub. Okay, you see that it's gonna show me this information. Okay, how many passed, how many failed, what's the score, okay, on the standards, PCI DCS, right? What's been coming or what's not. But if you right now the other integration services has not been enabled, this is just working on the set of standards. Okay, if you enable it right now, guard duty is not enabled because guard duty has not been enabled on your account. If you enable it, then it's going to give you guard duty findings here as well. Okay, if you have enabled messy, it will give you the messy uh, information over here. If you have enabled IAM access analyzer, it will give you IAM access analyzer over here. Patch manager, all the findings will come up. It's because this set of tools are not enabled on the account. We don't see we don't see any findings yet over here. Okay, it's a good tool, but again, it's a it's comes with a cost. So AMI that generated the most finding is 1, EC2 instance with tactics and so on. So total finding is 38. Okay, so 38 finding, and still the checks are going on. And how which standard we fail, which standard we pass. 34% is a security score for us. Okay, so if we go, I just wanted to turn it off. Okay, because it's gonna cost a bit more to me. Okay, so disable it. All right, so that's what a security hub is: a centralized place to look for different, or to integrate different, and do a consolidate and prioritize security findings on one place. That's what a security hub is. Okay. The next we have is a service called SES, which is nothing but a sending an email service. So simple email service, which is there inside this. So simple email service is used to send an email. That's it. Okay. So if you're into this, you wanted to send emails, you wanted to monitor emails, okay, you wanted to receive emails, then you use this SES service. So Amazon simple email service is the SES service which has been used to send and receive the complete emails. Okay, that has been said. What else we have? Okay, so yeah, so that security hub, that's about the different services of your AWS. We have WAF, we have Shield, we have SES, we have Artifact, we have Security Hub. From the point of operations, these are the set of you know things, or the actions which we have to look for. From the point of pen test, again, excuse me. I'm sorry, guys. So yeah, so that was about the services which we talked about, right? Okay, what next we have? We have the next thing is the automation stuff. That how do we automate, and what is, and how do we automate the infrastructure of a cloud, or if you wanted to automate or implement AWS crats, then how do we do it? Okay, so we do, or how do we deploy the AWS resource automation? We do that with the help of two things. One is cloud formation, which is not a part of the training now. The other is Terraform. Okay, so Terraform is a part of the training. Terraform is basically, you can say, of a language which has been completely developed by your HashiCorp. So HashiCorp is the vendor who has developed this language called Terraform, which actually allows developer or security engineers or operation engineers to automate the complete infrastructure which they wanted to run or execute. Okay, but how does it is related to security? That could be the question. See, right nowadays people are more focused on automation. So if we are even, and what happens is people say, okay, we do a security SAS checks on the code, okay, but they don't do a security or SAS code check on infrastructure as security code, like infrastructure as code. Okay, so what is infrastructure as code? Where you are going to deploy the complete infrastructure with the help of code. With the help of writing a code, you deploy the whole infrastructure. For example, if I have to create an EC2 instance, or if I have to create a role Then how will I create a role? I can create a role by going to the console, or by writing, or going to the AWS CLI. From these two areas, I can write a code, or I can write a code in console, like using AWS CLI, AWS commands. I can write the code and hit the API or AWS and create roles. The other option is I can go to AWS console management screen. I can log in. I can provide my username and password, and there I can from there I create a role. Okay, so we have two options, right? The third option we could have is like what we can have as a third option is the third option is we can write an infrastructure as code. Okay, so for example, if you have huge amount of changes, like say you have to create a role on 545 accounts. Okay, so what you can you're not going to go to all the 545 accounts individually by doing a console login or using AWS CLI to create this role on all 545 accounts. What you will be doing is you are going to create a cloud formation stack, or you're going to create an infrastructure as a code, and then once that infrastructure as a code is ready, you will deploy that in multiple business units accounts or multiple 545 accounts. You will just run that Terraform code to build all that particular role on all the 545 accounts. Okay, so yeah, so Terraform is nothing but a IAS language, IAC language. IAC is like infrastructure as code, okay, which has been completely developed by HashiCorp. So if you go to this and write Terraform, okay, so that's a Terraform by HashiCorp. Okay, so this Terraform is basically write a declarative configuration file like this. You have to write, okay, and then you just can write it out and can then deploy it in order to deploy the infrastructure, completely infrastructure as a code. Okay, so to install it, you can just go to you can just go to a download CLI, or you can see how you can download that for Mac, for Linux, for OpenBSD, Solaris, Windows. You can download this. Okay, once this has been downloaded, how do you verify that it's been downloaded? Let me take you the VM virtual machine I do own. Okay, over here you can see my screen. Okay, so you have to download that from the path. You can go to Terraform. I'll just copy this path and bring you on the chat. Sorry. So once it's been downloaded, you can just confirm that by writing Terraform init. Okay, so sorry, Terraform init, not Terraform init. You can write it down by, sorry, you can write it down by Terraform um, -1s version. Okay, that will give you the version of what Terraform you have in your system. Okay, this is a very good stuff, and I'll show you how Terraform can be used to automate the infrastructure as code. From the security point of view, and why we are learning this, first of all, from the security point of view, we I wanted to know to tell you that Terraform is a language which can deploy the infrastructure. Okay, from the security point of view, you have to think that if such stuff is being used in your organization, such codes is being used in your organization, you have to make sure that the infrastructure which is going to be deployed on the cloud, that particular code has to be scanned as well. Like Terraform, whenever the Terraform is being used, Terraform has there is a tool called tfsec, which actually do the static analysis of your Terraform file and will give you a list of non-compliance finding on the written code. Okay, on the written application code. Okay, so to write a Terraform code, it's very easy. You can, let's say you have first you have to install a Terraform, And if you have to automate the infrastructure, first let's see how it works. And once we understand how it works, we'll talk about where to include a security into it. Okay. Sorry. So first let's talk about how it works. Okay. So to work on Terraform, it's as I said, it's easy. You have to download the Terraform first. So once the Terraform has been downloaded, you will create a folder where you're going to write a Terraform files. Terraform files are the files where the extension of Terraform files will be .tf, and the files of the Terraform it will be the file where you will actually write a Terraform code in order to automate the infrastructure. Terraform supports all the cloud. Okay, you can use Terraform language to automate AWS infrastructure. It can be used to automate a Google Cloud infrastructure, and it can be used to automate your Azure cloud infrastructure. Okay, so what happens is, let me just say that. So I'll just open this file already. Okay, so I have one file over here which is called Rakuten bash2 role.terraform. So I'll just open that file. Okay, so this is how your Terraform file looks like. Just so what does this looks like over here? You can see that resource. Resource stands for, this is a predefined keyword, resource. And then resource stands saying that, hey, I'm going to create a resource named as AWS IAM role. And then this is a resource name. Okay, and how do I know that? You have to follow the language. Okay, so let's say if I have to share the screen. So once you have downloaded that, you can go to tutorial of Terraform, select the started with AWS. Okay, sorry. So introduction to install, build infrastructure, change infrastructure, destroy infrastructure. You can destroy as well. Input, sorry, input variable modules. You can click on modules. Okay, so you can click on anything like AWS get started, and when it gets started, introduction to infrastructure is good. Okay, you install, you change, deployment, define input variable. Okay, how does it works? So first of all, you have to say which is the provider. Okay, so here's a complete tutorial I can give you the link of. So if it says provider AWS first, okay, so that means you are saying that, as I said, Terraform works on with multiple providers. You could work with a GCP, you could work with Azure, you could work with AWS. So how would Terraform know that which which language, which provider I have to use, right? So for that we use a provider option. So that is where we use a provider. Okay, so infrastructure is code workflow. So if suppose any of the module you wanted to create, okay, let's say you wanted to create a role, you can just go to Terraform and can look for how do we create a role on this, right? If it's not over here, you can go to Google directly, and then you can look for how we create. Just write Terraform role, okay, role creation documentation, something like that, and then you go to registry of this. Okay, hold on for a minute. Okay, so it will give you usage. Okay, there are like other stuff how you can create. So this is a complete documentation. So I'll just pass you this sorry, into chat box. This is a registry where you can see all how do we create, how do we create different services. So if suppose I wanted to create a role, you see that resource is the keyword. Okay, and then resource, amongst of resource, what resource you want to create. I'm going to create an IAM role, so that's why AWS IAM role. Okay, and then your class, or you can say it's a class name. It can be any name which you want. Okay, and so you can imagine it as a class name. Okay, or an object, you can say, which you will refer moreover if suppose this role has been required moreover on on using anywhere else around, then you can refer that with sorry with this class name. Okay, so resource AWS IAM. Resource can be anything. Over here you can have a resource Athena, you can have resource Cloud9, you can have resource CloudTrail, you can have resource CloudFormations. These are the set of services you can automate. You can automate almost everything. So right now we are in IAM, and in IAM we wanted to create a role. And how do we create a role? This is an set of example of that. Okay, so I'll take you back to the console screen. Okay, over here you see that I have a resource, and I'm saying that this resource would be AWS IAM role. What will be a class name? Rakuten batch 2. Okay, and then what will be a role name? Var dot role name. Okay, what is this var dot role name, and where does I get this var dot role name? I'll explain you that. So see, in Terraform we have two things. Suppose, let's say, let me just control C, control X. Okay, so if I say ls, then in Terraform we have a very important things. One is a main file which will execute, then there is a vars.tf file, and there is a base.tf file. Okay, base.terraform file is the file which will execute at very first. Okay, whenever you execute the Terraform code, this will be the file which executes at very first. So what is we have, if you have a set of action which you wanted to perform on every time you run your Terraform file, like at very start you wanted to run, then you will write all this code on the base.terraform file. Okay, so in base.terraform file, what is there inside a base.terraform file? So I'll just say cat base.terraform will be nothing but the information about the provider. Okay, so I'm saying that, hey, this is a provider AWS, user region US East 1. All right, so I'm saying that use this provider and use this region AWS sorry, use this region US East 1, and the provider should be AWS, right? That's what we do in the base.terraform file. Then we have vars.tf. Sorry, we have vars.tf. In vars.tf, what we do, vars.tf is a variables Terraform file. Okay, you put all your variables into vars.tf. So if you say cat vars.tf, so if suppose in any language we have variables, right? So we create variables into vars.tf. In Terraform, if you have to create a variable, you will create a file called vars, and you will put the extension .tf, or you can also create a file with the name variables and put an extension as tf. Tf stands for Terraform, and you write or you use your JSON type format to write it out. Okay, so how do we create a variable? You see that this is a variable file, and I have created a variable, okay, named, this is a keyword again, variable, and then the role name. Role name is a again an object or a class name you can think of, which we will use to refer ahead. And then what is a value? I have given a value saying that Rakuten TF first batch 2. Okay, now that's been written. I can change that part. So let's say nano vars.tf, and I will change this to, instead of Rakuten, I'll say Sony Terraform batch 1. Okay, and then control X and then save the yes. Okay, so now I have a variable named as this. Okay, similarly, now once you have done this, right, you have a vars.tf, you have a vars.tf where you put all your variables. Then you have a main file. Okay, so base.terraform will execute at very first. Vars.tf will execute will be the variables file, and then whatever file name you have, that will be the main file of the Terraform. Okay, what is the state file and state backup file? We'll talk about later. Okay, but this is the batch 2 role which you have written. This is the main file. Okay, so let's clear everything and come back to cat. Um, okay, that's Rakuten batch Terraform file. All right, over here you see that. Let me just scroll it up. So what I'm doing is I'm going to create a role named as AWS IAM role. Sorry, and then that will be a name of, that will be a class name, Rakuten batch. You can name it anything you want. Then what I'm saying is the name of the role will be the role name, which you will take it from the variable. So in the variable you have written Sony Terraform batch 1. So the name of the variable, sorry, role name will what will be the role name which will created on the AWS will be, it will be a Sony batch 1. Okay, then you have, this is the first IAC role to test on demonstration, that's the description. Then when we create a role, we put an assume if you remember on IAM, we were doing a trust relationship. So this is a trust relationship. I'm saying that ST has assume role, EC2 is allowed to assume this role. Okay, allow, that's a policy you have attached with this particular role. Okay, then on the end of file, I've added a tag saying org name equals to Rakuten, owner is AppSec, product is EC2 LB. All right. And then with that particular role, I am going to attach more policies apart from the trust relationship. I'm going to attach more policies. So resource, AWS IAM policy, and this is how we create a policy. Okay. So I'm going to create a resource, which is a policy. Okay. AWS IAM policy. What will be a policy name? This will be a class of the policy. What will be a policy name? Policy name attach first batch to something. So this is a policy name, which we can change. Okay, so let me just open it again with the nano. I'll change a lot of stuff over here. First, role name, let's remain same, let it be. Org name, I will change the org name as, now I'll change the org name as Sony. Okay, and then I'll change the owner as appsec underscore Sony. And then I'll change this as EC2LB, let it be. On the other end, policy name, I would change the policy name, what it should look like. Policy name attach Terraform Sony. And this is a policy used for the action of EC2 instances. And how this policy looks like, you see that. What is the permission I'm going to give it to this particular, in this particular policy is that EC2 describe is a star, like describe is allowed, and S3 all actions are allowed. Okay, and then the policy ends. Now I want to attach this policy with the role which I've created above, right? So to attach the policy with the role you created above, this is how you will do it. Resource, IAM role policy attachment, attach the role. Okay, attach role, this will be a name of the class, whatever you want, you can. Then how do you attach it a role? AWS IAM role, okay, dot Rakuten batch 2, okay, which is Rakuten batch 2 is the role name. Role, this Rakuten batch 2, as I said, if you wanted to refer the role somewhere in the Terraform, you will use the object name or a class name over here. So Rakuten batch 2, okay, inside Rakuten batch 2, take the name of the role. Okay, that's the name. And policy ARN will be again AWS IAM policy, okay, and then Rakuten Terraform policy batch 2, which is a name of this policy. Okay, take that ARN, take its ARN and attach it to this role. Okay, so this complete Terraform file is creating a role, it's creating a policy, and it's creating an attachment between policy and the role which you have created. Okay, okay, so that's how the stuff is, right? That's how you write the Terraform file. Okay, so Control X, on this Control X, I want to save yes. Okay, now once you're ready with your set of changes, with set of files, what you can do is, to run a Terraform file, you have to do one thing. Okay, you have to make sure that your profile is being selected, so that you have to put your profile with AWS Profile, so that uh, it uses the correct credentials in order to deploy the infrastructure. Okay, and where to deploy the infrastructure, how Terraform will know which account to use and where to deploy it. To do so, you have to make sure that you use the AWS underscore profile option. And how do you use it? Use this as like this. You say you would say echo first. Let's say, what do you have in AWS underscore profile? So what do you have in underscore profile? You have nothing on this, right? So you have to set a profile on this particular variable in order to tell Terraform that, hey, use this profile to automate this infrastructure. Because how would Terraform know which account I have to deploy this infrastructure? There could be n number of accounts, right? So to make sure that Terraform know that this is an account where I have to deploy it, we have to export our profile and put it into AWS Profile. Okay, so from where you will export the profile, as you know that in AWS, whenever we have installed a CLI, we know that the AWS file, sorry, you know that AWS file has been created, and that's AWS and credentials file. Okay, and we have lots of credentials into it, but I want to use this one. This as a profile, so I'll copy that recruiter deployment. So clear again, and we'll write export. Okay, AWS underscore profile, and this time I would say this profile has to be used. Okay, which profile I have to use? Use this profile, recruiter deployment. Okay, that's it. And then if you echo, if you write an echo command again, okay, you would see that this is right now using recruiter deployment from the AWS credential file. Okay, once that is done, okay, now you have to say Terraform, or you have to go to that directory where your all files are associated. Right now we are into the directory where our all Terraform file is written. So we'll say ls, this is our Terraform file. So all our file is ready. So we'll say Terraform. Once everything is done, Terraform init. Okay, press enter. So you will get that Terraform has been successfully initialized. All right, so that all looks good. Okay, so it's been initialized. It made your directory to or it told Terraform compiler that this is a directory which will be used as a Terraform directory. Okay, so if there is something during the initialization, if something mishappening has happened, it will give you an error. So Terraform init is basically to initialize that this is a directory which will be used to do a Terraform a Terraform automations. Okay, so Terraform initialization, to initialize a Terraform directory, we use a Terraform init command. All right, then we use a Terraform. After you have initialized, you say Terraform plan. Terraform plan command is basically used to check that what all are the changes which is going to happen in your infrastructure. Okay, so Terraform plan, press that and wait for a second, and it's gonna give you the set of changes which will happen in your infrastructure. And also Terraform plan actually compiles the code of Terraform, and if there is an error or issue, it will give you that error. Okay, so over here you see that you have a Terraform complete Terraform things over here. It says Terraform will perform the following actions. Okay, AWS IAM recruiter.batch will be created. It's going to say that these are the setup will be created. Sorry, and then this policy will be created. So three things will be added. There is no change and nothing to destroy. And if all looks good, what you can say, okay, plan looks good, that means your code has been Terraform code has been built properly. Now once the thing looks good, you can say Terraform apply. What this apply will do, whatever the plan has the changes, apply is going to put all these changes to the specified account which you have said. Okay, so Terraform apply, that's it. Once the Terraform apply has been done, the infrastructure which you have written as a code is going to be completely deployed on the account which you have attached as a profile in AWS underscore profile. So wait, we have to wait for a minute, and it says that okay, these are the same changes I'm going to add. Are you sure you want to go ahead and approve it? I said yes. Okay, so it's going to create that. It's creating the Terraform batch too. It's creating, okay, creation has completed. So 3 resource added, 0 change and 0 destroyed. So to verify it, let's go to the account again.
Thanks for watching. Want to study further? Join our training programs today.